Brides in the Hills 14. But as is usual in all such matters, the secret did not remain a secret for long. It was whispering to the ears, and the whispers were spreading. Thimapa Heged from one side and Baramai Heged from the other side were responsible for spreading the news. As soon as the news reached her ears, Jatama came to Halamain and asked her brother if there is any news. "Why am I shy? Go and ask." Jatama went to Akamain. Jatama, who got married and went to her husband's house before she got married, even after getting married, she did not lose her friendship with Subana Heged from the beginning. Subana Heged got Jatama from it. He spoke earnestly, "When you hear about that news, oh Jatu, what's wrong with you?" When she heard something, she laughed and said, "Go here." After coming back, she thought for a long time, why is she getting married for the second time? Doesn't that mean I can't have children? Even though I was dead, I didn't fight. Now I will go to my mother's house and ask for a girl, marry her again, and if I want to make my daughter-in-law happy, I will have to look at the bottom of the lake well. Then she took all the religious labor measures to get children soon. God said to Dinda, and she fetched medicine from Kanna Pandit, who was famous as Malayalam Pandit in Megravalley. She also escalated the fight with her husband's sister Lakama. If Jatrama taunted, "You are like a pig in a barn," Lakama said, "You are like a pig in a barn." She was talking like she was squeezing her sister-in-law's neck. The forefinger of both of them was about the pigs that were kept by the Sogepals in the old house, because Subana Heged's house was made for the pigs, so there was always a dirty smell wherever you looked. Like the people of Janawara, when they went to them for a loan or for some other work, they used to cover their noses, walk on tiptoe and run to the grass. Only Subana Heged was not disgusted at all. For them, chicken coops, sheep sheds, pig sheds are as important as paddy fields. Even though he was a lord of thousands of rupees, he was wearing a blanket and wrapped a dirty panch up to his ankles, had built. If people looked at them and thought they were inside, Subana Heged, who was an old man, did not notice it, but he felt sorry for such people, but he did not have sensitive tastes to the extent of being ashamed of himself. Reaching adulthood is a great rite of passage. As the eternal sleep of death approaches, something becomes tiresome like a lifelong nightmare. The restlessness of the mind, which is driven by the knowledge that one has to sink to death whether one likes it or not, takes the shape of hundreds of mundane but formless stones and disturbs all sleep. In that too, away from God, religion, art, culture, etc., the mind is engrossed day and night in the acquisition and preservation of worldly wealth. The lifeless adventure of active atheism is more like the death of an old man who dies, the dull apathy of the theism of 1,000 shares of lifeless tradition. Halamain Subrana Heged used to wake up long before dawn to try to escape from such a vicious factory. Even so, he got up in the first leg of the last leg. The day before, there had been a heavy monsoon rain in Begi, so the morning air was very cold, so Subana Heged came from his Kagavi room to the garden, on the mudbed there. As usual in the usual place, he wrapped the blanket around him a little tighter and put the farmer's clothes on in the dark. Pulling the bag closer, he picked out a mail from the bag with his hand, blew it, put it on a metal knife, and began to cut it. Silence is a great antidote to the pearly side of external life, and as the demon of shrill noise is gone, Heged's chest is relieved and his mind is calmed. Peace also became. The sound of Subana Heged's snoring was the only sound in the old house, where there was no other sound. In a moment, the sound of hooves, the sound of horns, the sound of a stick, the sound of a goat's sneeze, the sound of a sledgehammer, one after the other, were heard in the sheds in the yard facing the lawn and in the barn behind the sheds. In such a garden fence or in an amit tree, two crows start a romantic conversation by chirping. It seems that only a red flower came through the leaves and was in full bloom on the holly van tree. A Kajana started to sing. Subana Heged's attention was not diverted to the chirping of the eagle or to the singing of the Kajana. He laughed a little at the sting, lifted his ass, and looked towards the yard with a smile. In the darkness of the house, the shape of the Odyss in the darkness of the plain appeared invitingly. The sounds made inside the Odyss were the realization of a long-time device for the Heged, and it was a secret code that only they were sensitive to. Chicken. Brides in the Hills 15. To be continued.